Hey everybody, welcome back to Switch to Linux. It is late, and what I decided I wanted to do is rather than record a video and process the video and figure all that kind of stuff out, I decided I'd go ahead and throw up a live stream. Because what we're going to do today is we're just going to have a little look at Qubes OS. So this is quite a complicated OS, and I'm just going to walk through a series of tutorials. What is Qubes? How you can get it set up? Why might you want to get it set up? And basic stuff like that. I have a little bit of my coffee left from today. I have my nice hot herbal tea today, and I'm just going to kind of talk until we're all talked out. I'm monitoring on the chat over here, and I have the craziest setup that I've set up in a long time. So just to give you an idea of what I'm working with, I got stuff all over. I have Qubes running across the dual monitor. I have my laptop here doing the actual streaming, and another monitoring system over here. So we got a lot of stuff going on here. And I'm going to try and keep everything working right, and hopefully our stream stays in good shape. So if you do have specific Qubes-based questions, go ahead and leave them in the chat. And we'll get to those as I get to those. And if I move over onto the main laptop screen, which I'm going to in just a few moments here, then you'll be able to see the chat feed. All right. And I start talking, and so the kitty wants to come. Say hi, kitty.
Use Qubes, everybody. It rocks.
All right. So, Qubes OS is really an operating system that is, their tagline, in fact, is a reasonably secure operating system. I think super overkill secure operating system could also potentially work. This is not a Linux distro for the faint of heart. It is a little bit more complicated to work with than some of them, but it's not all that bad. And first, why did I start getting into using Qubes? Well, I wanted to do some reviews of it not too long ago, but I just never quite got around to it. And then one of the projects I was working with, which deals with a lot of potentially high-profile targets, really wants all of their stuff working through as secure systems as we can. And I looked at the security protocols, and they weren't even up to my standards quite as much. But I'm like, you want secure? We'll do secure. And so I set up this Qubes distro to do the work. Now, as I'm actually doing work for them, I probably will not have two monitors up. As I'm doing system configurations and stuff, it's easier if I do this, but it runs just fine on one monitor. So first, let's start with having a look at their homepage. So I'm going to transition over here. You can see the homepage. So this is Qubes. It is taglined, as I said, a reasonably secure operating system. And I'm going to say that if you do need to focus on security as your main thing, then this is probably the type of system you want to run. Although I would say it takes a little bit more powerful of a computer. It does a good job of managing its memory. So in this case here, each one of the virtual subsystems is taking, well, I guess 3 of them are taking about 3 gigs of RAM each. But when I run this on a computer that does not have that much RAM, it does a really good job and still keeps up pretty quick. Yeah, sorry, Bad Wolf. Yeah, this is way later than I would usually do something. I'm just doing something here. You can catch it in the morning if you don't want to wait up. But if you want to wait up, go for it. Just grab some coffee. We'll go. All right. So I decided I'd go ahead and do Qubes, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the install. Of course, you can come to their main website here, which is qubes-os.org, and you can see the announcements. So I mean, this is a good active system. You can see finally a reasonably secure operating system. And the reason they say it's a reasonably secure system is no OS is going to be completely foolproof, but they take that way extra beyond a measure to make sure that things are generally in good shape. Only if you'll work for me tomorrow, then I could sleep in. It depends. What do you do? I'll be working for me tomorrow. I know that. All right. So you can come over to their main site. You can download and install it. This is not a system that works well inside of a VirtualBox. I attempted to install it in a VirtualBox, and it wasn't flying for me. That was on my smaller computer. But then was like, you know what? We needed to get some secure stuff going for another group, and so we decided to do this. You can download the ISO image directly or the torrents. Grab the signatures. If you're not in the habit of doing signatures, verifying your download, this is a good OS to get in that habit of. You always want to be verifying your ISOs. I do it with pretty much every ISO I download. And that's a good habit that we should be getting into. All right. I'm a handyman and have to repair a fence line. I could do that. Depends where you're at. Although, if I'm staying up streaming until 3 or 4 in the morning, I probably won't be up there early in the morning. So, sorry about that. But, you know, if it can wait until, I don't know, tomorrow, 8, 9 o'clock p.m., I'll think about it. All right. So this is about a 4 gigabyte download, you can see. So be prepared that you're going to be downloading a lot of stuff if you're going to want to run Qubes. But then I think the reason is it kind of comes packaged with a few different distros all within it. We'll talk about that a little bit. One of the great things about it is the documentation is awesome. We work nights. You can come work for us. Hey, sure, why not? This is late for me even. I mean, I'm usually going to bed about now. I've found over the years that I do not work well on a 9 to 5. In fact, even in my own business, if I ever tried to set a 9 to 5 schedule, it blows up. It doesn't work well. I'm deeply productive from about, 2 or so in the afternoon until like 10, 11 p.m. Super highly productive. And so that's just kind of the shift I choose to work. All right. Anyway, the documentation is absolutely awesome. We're going to go through this. I'm going to refer to this quite a bit. A lot of the documentation is command line interface stuff. Some of the things you can now do in the GUI. A lot of the things you still have to go back in the command line interface for. So again, this is not a super simple distro to run. But it is definitely worth it if you need it. This could very well replace my banking OS. It could replace a lot of different things, and we're going to kind of talk about this. So quickly, the brief overview. Qubes itself is a very basic platform running XFCE as the environment, but then what it does is it will separate things into what they call separate domains. And the domains are what gives you virtualization cores. And so you end up running a machine that instead of being one system out there, it will basically run a series of virtual machines for the various tasks that you want. Now, it's not a separate virtual machine for every single task. It's a separate virtual machine for each domain type. So, for example, you have on this a personal domain. I'm looking just through my domains. I have a personal domain, I have a work domain, I have a vault, I have an anonymous, an untrusted, and a disposable domain are the core main domains I have to work with. So the domains get spun up, and basically what happens is they save your home folder and not much else. And then what they do is they run off of a template. And the templates that are the default templates are Fedora 23 and Debian 8. Now you can add some of your other templates. There's some good instructions for putting in Ubuntu on here as well. And one of the things that I'm going to do soon is I will run up a template on Ubuntu, mostly so I can install some camera stuff on here. We can do some videos directly from the computer itself rather than sharing the camera across on the screen. And then what we'll do is I'll kind of walk you through some more features. So be thinking about the types of things you want to see. Add those to the comments of any of the Qubes videos, and I will add those to the list. And then we're going to end up creating a pretty comprehensive tutorial. But as for this video, we're just going to walk through just some of the basics, how it works and things, and we'll get into more advanced features a little bit later when my brain has rested a little bit. All right, we work nights. Let's see. I'm in call and have to set new posts and strings, new barbed wire, 150 acres. Do you live out there in Wyoming? I used to live out there in Wyoming. I'm calling it. I'll watch it tomorrow. Good night. All right. So, all right. Let's see what we can do here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pull this guy over here and just kind of point it at the screen, and hopefully we get decent quality. So what we have here is across two screens, this is your main control panel. And this guy here is, it's called the Qubes VM Manager. And this pretty much tells you what's going on the system. So this is where you want to run, you want this guy to be running all the time. Let me see if I can set it up so we can actually see it where I don't have to hold it. I should be able to do something like that. And transition back to full screen, and we might need to back that up just a little bit there. Okay. All right. So hopefully you can see that a little bit. We'll do some more videos later where we're actually covering, if I can get the camera and the screen sharing working. The hard part about getting this cameras, screen sharings, and all that is how virtualized this thing is. Things don't like to talk to each other, and that's by design. All right, so what we're looking at here is your DOM0 is your basic main administrative panel. So everything kind of runs, this pretty much just runs all of your main setup here. And then you have a series of different services and systems. So your services, your sysnet is a service. This basically runs your internet. So one of the things about Qubes, maybe even I'll do a little bit of this before I get into this too much. I'm actually running this on a USB drive. You want to make sure that you have a large USB drive. I first tried to install this on a 32 gigabyte and realized the 32 gigabyte is not enough to run this. This is a 64 gigabyte drive. It's going to work for my tasks, although you definitely want something larger. So I got, let's see if I can get this guy into view. This guy here is a SanDisk USB 3 drive. You probably can't see it very well due to the lighting, but this is a, hold on, let me do this. There we are, get some lighting on there. All right, this is just a SanDisk USB 3 drive. This is the 32 gigabyte. The one that we're actually running on is the 64 gigabyte. That's what I have this running on. And I did that for portability. But one of the things I found is in the portability is different devices. And so because we have different devices on different computers, you might need to toggle around and move around some settings. So when I take this out of the computer I'm running at right now and I pop it into my laptop and I get it running over there, I actually have to make a configuration change to the sys-net to get it to work. And the reason is this guy is configured right now to run off of the hardline router. It's directly wired into the router, and a little bit better internet that way. And with that, it works perfectly fine. But when I pop it out of this and put it into the laptop, I have to set it up to work with the wireless card in there. And so you just need to make a change. So to do that, you'd have to turn it off, and it may or may not have started if it cannot connect to the internet. But the gear up here at the top is what gives you your settings. And then you have a lot of different options up here, and the one we want to do is devices. You can see that I have to turn this off to modify the devices. So you'd want to look through here, and you'd want to look for something that's just going to say something to the effect of, your wireless card or whatever, and you need to move it over. Another example is on this one here. In order to use a web camera with it, I actually had to come over and move the USB controller, because even the USB controllers are kind of locked in there. You cannot just plug a USB drive into this computer and expect something to happen. And so to get the web camera functionality to work, I actually had to come over here. And first, the hard part was figuring out which USB controller it was. Because if I grab the USB controller that's actually running the system, the whole system comes crashing down. So I did a little bit of diagnostics in my system because this computer has like 10 USB ports. I had to figure out which one, and I took a lucky guess. This is indeed the one that the camera goes on when I put the camera on the computer. So that allowed me to actually utilize my camera for video conferencing in this machine, but that will not happen on any other machine. The sys firewall is basically a firewall layer, and you'll notice that it keeps separate so that if you run something in an untrusted domain and it tries to jicker with the firewall, it can't get there. So we also have Unix on here, which will configure a Tor browser. So you do have the ability to use Tor or an open net, and I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. So the templates are the ones we have here. There are 2 templates for Unix. I'm not exactly certain why we have 2 templates for those. But the Fedora and the Debian are the ones which spin up your various devices. So you'll see that my the guys down here with this symbol. Let's see if you can see where my mouse is. It looks like I need to bump this just a little bit to see where that is. You can see where the mouse is over here. Right over here is this icon here. These guys are the actual system machines that you can spin up. Now, you can spin up the other machines as well. In fact, you have to if you want to make software package adjustments. So, for example, one of the purposes of this computer is to do secure web design work. So I wanted to install a web browser or a web editor, a web HTML editor. And so I went ahead and you had to boot up the Debian 8 to install the editor, close out the Debian, and then whatever is based on Debian 8 will have that software package available. And so that allows you to keep those guys separate. And the main templates, though, will control the packages that are available within your individual domains. And these are called domains. So the untrusted domain is for if somebody happens to give you a file, or maybe you're out at a conference and somebody hands you a USB drive and you're like, I kind of want a USB drive. I don't want to just throw it away like you probably should do. You can come in here, boot this guy up into untrusted, plug in the drive, move the drive over into the untrusted, and clear it. Wipe it, annihilate it. Because you never know what type of malware someone's going to throw on a USB drive. So the untrusted allows you to do things like that. Maybe there's a suspicious looking website, but you still want to get onto it. Like I'd use this if I'm trying to track down, where some internet scammer happens to be. Use the untrusted, and it'll basically just make sure everything's working. Now, the thing that you do not see on here that is available is what is called the disposable. So the disposable ones are basically it's basically just like it spins it up, it does its machine thing, and then nothing is ever saved. So you can kind of envision it in the Linux world, sort of like running a live key. So it's just a basic short-term live key system, and I'm pretty sure it's around here somewhere. I'm just not exactly sure where. Let me actually spin one up real quick. So it's actually going to wait a little bit because I haven't updated it for a while. Okay. What we should see is when it's set to go, it should appear over there, assuming that it... okay, so that's it there. You can see it did spin up. So this guy here is that anonymous or the disposable domain, and I actually had it boot up Firefox. So there's Firefox. Now this brings up another cool thing. The coloration on these will indicate what it is. So your insecure / whatevers are going to generally be red. My personal one is yellow. You'll see I close that out and it just dies. My personal one is yellow. My work one is blue. And then we have a vault here, which is black. So basically inside of each one of these guys, you can set where it bases off of. So the Anon one is actually based on, it's an anonymous system. So this, you can see where the template is the who is the WS here. And this guy here, what it is it's actually going to run everything through the Tor network. And so this guy here will automatically run some Tor network out of the box, but not for everything. So I don't want to run my personal stuff through the Tor, but I might want to run something else through there. And so the Anon gives you that. Your work one, which I renamed just because I'm going to be adding some other things in here. The cool thing is, though, is that if you want to do, like, I did a video about how I run my banking on a completely separate distro on its own flash drive. Well, I could very easily use this as a main computer in the office, always keeping it running, with one of the domains is going to be my banking software, because it keeps things completely separate from everything else. And that's really the way that this guy's going to work. So with all that being said, if you wanted to edit or adjust one of these cores here, you would just click on the settings, and then inside of here, you will be able to see the various items. So I can change this to personal. I can change it to whatever I want. The template is, you can pull this from whatever. The current you'll see is Fedora. I did change the current to Debian just because I am way more familiar with the Debian system than I am the Fedora system. And that way, you know, this was for work. I designed this guy for work. And so I just wanted to stay in something I was more knowledgeable in. Under the advanced, you can configure the memory defaults for various items. The firewall rules will enable you to set a specific customized firewall. And then your devices, this will allow you to configure your various USB devices. So if I take this guy, let's see, can I actually access the other one while we're working here? Looks like I cannot pull up the settings for two of them at once. But if I could pull up the settings, what you would end up seeing is that the USB controller, which is, I want to say it's this one here, this USB controller is selected on the work domain but not on the personal, because I have no need to use the web camera on the personal, and so I'm just not going to bother. All right, so the other things you can do is set your applications. So what your applications do is, these are the available applications. The only way to get the applications over here is to adjust the template. So I actually had to install LibreOffice on the Debian 8 template in order to get them to show up here. And then what you do is, if I want to have this inside of my system, what I would do is I would highlight what I want over here, and I'd hit the over button. And then what that's going to do is actually going to add it to the menu. So we'll close this, and the menu is over here. Oh, duh, not that. So here you can see where your menu is. And if I go to my personal, you'll see that these are the applications I have available. We have a document viewer, files, Firefox, gedit, iStuff. We have network connections, packages, package updater, and terminal. But if I go to my work one, you'll see there's a lot more packages here, because I'm going to need to access in here, I'm going to need to access a password manager. I'm going to need to access LibreOffice files, Bluefish for HTML editing. There's my Firefox. And then, of course, here's my iStuff for my emails over here. And so what happens is I keep all of these guys kind of separated so that as you boot up a system, then you will have color coordinating, and each one will operate on under its own different platform. So, for example, if I load up, I'm going to load up my personal files, and then I'm going to load up the work files. I'm not going to load up the work files, actually, because there's stuff in there that is sensitive. Let me do the vault files. Okay. So when you first load these up, you'll notice I get some dots showing up on the screen here, and they start as yellow, meaning it's in startup status, and the green means that it is ready to go. So usually the first instance you'd do will actually boot the machine up, and then what I find is occasionally you need to go in and you need to click in on the item to open the files a couple of times. I'm seeing if there's actually anything in my personal files at all. I'm not sure there is. Okay. So these guys here are a little different. So here is the... Well, let me verify what's in here first. Okay. We're good. All right. So we're going to back this guy up. If I can. We're just going to do it this way, I think. All right, so this guy here is my vault files, and the color will coordinate with the colors we have here. Now, what the vault is a system that you'll see under the net VM over here. Net VM here lists nothing. That's because there is no network attachment. The vault is specifically here to store secure files away from any internet connectivity. Now here is my personal files. And you'll even see that the icons are different sizes. Mostly I just not even sure if I changed any of them. Maybe I accidentally changed some of them. So inside of my personal files, I can have a completely different set of files than I have anywhere else. So my vault and my personal. So what that means in the terms of booting systems up, what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to turn off the vault. So I'm just going to come down here, and you can come up here and use the icons up here, the shutdown, the selected. I usually just right click here and hit the shutdown button down here. So I'm going to shut down the vault. It's going to save some memory. You'll see it's right now running on about 4 gigs of memory. Just shut that down. And then I'm going to spin up, I think I will spin up the anonymous one. So we're going to start the anonymous one. And I did not pay attention if we're actually connected to Tor right now or not. We'll find out though. And then it's a downside I find with XFCE here. We're going to start the untrusted as well. So we're going to kind of spin up a few different virtual boxes here. So the Anon is ready to go. So let me come into my menu, and I'm going to load up a Tor browser. So here is a anonymous, and if the color coding doesn't give away what it is, then you can actually see the name in front of it. In this case, my anonymous and my disposable, my untrusted, which is the other one I'm going to run, are going to be both going to be red, but you'll see that one will say untrusted and one will say anonymous. If I can zoom in and get that working right. And I apologize for the bad camera angle on this particular video here, but this is kind of the way you got to get this set up until I spin something up that I want to do screen sharing with, because I'm not going to put it on my main distros here, because I want to make sure that I maintain security on this system. So here is, let's go to what's my IP. .org, And it's not going to match. I have no idea why the Untrusted's not booting up on me. It's, let's see, Untrusted. Okay, should be working fine. So the Tor browser is actually working. So you can see there, that's not my IP address. Probably not even my country, but I'm not sure what's going on with this one. Let me see. What else do I have running right now? I have personal running, so let me boot up a personal and see if personal is going to work. That's intriguing. Looks like Tor's working, but it does not look like my regular internet's working. So I'm wondering if something's wrong in my system net. Oh yeah, look at that. System net is actually, you can see my system net there is actually not connected to an internet. Let's go ahead and I don't think I can shut this down because yeah. All of the other virtuals require this, and so I can't just shut it down. Okay, so let's see if we can get the internet fixed on everything else. So the Tor's working, it's just nothing else is. So that's kind of funny, right? And that's probably just because I've been jumping back and forth between these different systems. So I actually have to shut down all of the, let's see, actually I do not have to shut down the anonymous one. But I do have to shut down everything else. Actually, I might. Let me just go ahead and shut down all the machines here. Okay. It's totally weird. I'm not sure why it didn't connect. That's actually the first time it's ever done that for me. All right, go ahead and have a look at the settings. That is the Ethernet controller. Let me just hit OK there, and what's going to happen is when you spin this guy up, it actually is what starts the network manager. And so I'll be able to see pretty quick when the network manager boots up. As soon as it's booted up, I'll be able to see if it's connected or not. Okay, so it says it has been disconnected. So that usually is going to mean that something's not working. Let me double check my internet. More or less my internet cable. I know the internet's working because the stream works. So there is an instruction set, and it is to pass through USB stuff. And just a little warning, maybe if the developers watch this video or are aware of it or not aware of it, but there was actually an instruction to pass through USB that ended up sort of bricking the system. I had to boot the platform up inside of, let's see, Ethernet controller. Okay, it should be good. I had to boot up another Linux computer, decrypt the drive, and then I had to go in and manually delete a virtual box. Okay, now we get connection established notification. So our internet should be working. It should be. Not sure why it still says nothing there. I think. Do I have my? You know what? I think this got removed accidentally when we were walking through some things. I think that's what happened. Because that should say sys firewall there. I'm pretty sure. If not, I'll do a couple resets and diagnosing some things and come back. This is the fun part about live stream. Sometimes goofiness happens. But that's fine because you know, I don't want people to look at all the Linux stuff and say, oh, nothing ever happens to these guys, but they may happen to me. Okay, so apparently that's not the issue. I cannot even select that. So started automatically on boot means that this is automatically going to start. There is a backup that will run. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, well, let's just go ahead and spin this guy up and see what happens. It should give me the connection as soon as it turns on. And then if that goes on, then we're going to go ahead and turn on the firewall. Okay, so it's connection established. Good. Now we're going to turn on the firewall. Well, let's go ahead and leave the Tor off because I don't really care or not. I'm going to turn the personal back on. And then we'll see if we're actually connected. And I'm actually getting a connection icon here, but I was getting that earlier as well. Firewall has been started and personal has been started. Let's see if my personal Firefox will connect to the internet now. Apparently not. There does seem to be something goofy going on in my system. I'm not seeming to be able to get on the internet with my my Qubes here. I have no idea why. Let's see. I know it was working just a little bit ago when I was testing out some Google services. Let me try this. I'm going to try booting up the work machine and see what that gets me. Okay, there is something wrong with the network adapter. My network is unreachable, even from my DOM0, which should give me full internet access. So let's see. What could the challenge be? We're going to shut down this one. And shut down this one again. All right, so now all our boxes are shut back down again. If anybody's watching and has any idea here, let me know. This is, like I said, this is the very first time that I've actually encountered this. Maybe it's just something didn't get started up on boot up or something. I've never actually, the only time you generally have to do any of this stuff is if you swap your computer from one computer to another computer. That's generally the only time you ever had to do any of this stuff. Okay. Applications, services. So it is making a connection to the internet, but it's not actually allowing any of those connections to go through. And you can see my, okay, IPs, well, that's because the thing's turned off. I think what I might need to do at this point in time is just move it over to the other computer again, verify everything's working over there with a different network card, and then come back in over here. So I guess what we'll probably do, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut everything down and reboot it. And so what we'll do at this point in time is we're just going to come back on over here and just walk through just a few other items while this guy resets itself. So okay, and what we're gonna do here is I gotta spam the F12 key to get the boot menu back up. Go down there, and then after it loads a couple lines there, we're gonna have to do our password. So by default, Qubes is going to want to encrypt the drive, which is something you should do. All right. And then the next thing it's going to do is I have to enter in my my screen to log in the rest of the way. All right, so inside here you'll find all sorts of guides. The creators here do have a very nice video. I thought it was at the top of the docs, but maybe it's not. Oh, it's video tours. Okay. So you can see here on the video tours page, there's a lot of extra information on here. All right. And then okay, that's on connection established. Okay, so it's connected to Tor. Just got a Tor notification. Okay. So back to their main site. Okay. Hey, there we are. All right, so I am simply going to declare that as being a startup bug. Because we have internet. So I have no idea what happened there. Like I said, I'll just kind of declare that a startup bug. So now I can actually get back to showing you what I was going to show you. Just rebooting it, fixed it. So you can see here, I just did a little search for start page. You can see here that this is yellow. It says personal. That means that this is my my individual personal system. We have, let's see, the untrusted, which is going to be red. Gonna snap that to the bottom there. So anytime you turn on a machine, it sometimes takes just a few minutes. So here's your red, and you can see that it says untrusted right up here. And what you'll notice is that this is always going to start up and give us kind of that default, hey, you've just installed Firefox. If you check the search up here, it's all the basic defaults. Versus on my personal one, where I don't use most of the search engines, I have it customized just the way I like. Start page is default. Google is available for when I need it. And then there's Debian package searching as well. So I can do that since, of course, my machines are set to be based on Debian system here. So that's what allows me to separate these. So you'll even notice here that I can do completely different things on each one of these accounts. And what'll happen is it'll keep all of the files isolated. So let's see. I think the guy, let's see. I think that the guy on the tutorial video here went to like the IRS just to download a PDF. So if I happen to go over here, of course it's tax time, so don't forget your 1040s. Let's go ahead and download a 1040 form. So here I can download a 1040 form. We're going to save it. So where this gets saved to is it's going to get saved to the untrusted files section. So I have to come over to the menu, and what you'll notice on your menu here is that you have a menu item for each of your different domains. So I can pull in the templates and actually start your templates up, which you might want to do if you want to add packages, or you can go into your different systems. So under my untrusted, if I click on files, that should give me my file manager for the untrusted. And then under downloads, there's my PDF. But if I go under my personal, where I have my personal files at, you will notice that that is not there. Now, I cannot just take it and move it. No, will not happen. Okay, because it will not allow you to accidentally copy and paste from one domain to another. But suppose I do want this file over on my personal. I've looked at it. I said, okay, no bugs, no viruses, blah, blah, blah. Now what I can do is if you right-click the file, you can come down and you can move to other app VM, convert to a trusted PDF, open in a disposable VM, copy to an app VM. Okay, so we can move it or we can copy it. So if I want to just kind of keep this guy, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the move, enter the destination domain. So you have to know what your domains are, so don't give them goofy names. So I literally have to enter it exactly as it's spelled, not with a B, but personal. Hit OK. And then it will give us this prompt here. Do you want to allow untrusted domain to execute a file copy operation to your personal? If you're doing a lot of file transfers, you can hit yes to all. In this case, I'm just going to hit yes one time. You'll see it disappears from here. And then where it's going to appear is in my home folder. We're going to get another folder called Qubes Incoming. Open this up. Here's from the file type, and here's your actual PDF. Now it's in my personal instead. So if I can just kind of move this around to where I want it, and there's my 1040 form. So I can just go ahead and trash these. So that's how you move some files quickly between all of the different systems inside of your cubes. So I have my untrusted red cube, I have my trusted yellow cube. Now this is also nice because I can keep, for example, if I want to keep personal email addresses separated entirely from work email addresses, I can have my own copy of, I have IceDove over here, which I've not actually set up on my personal, so I can boot that up and show you. And basically it's just going to load up a IceDove in the default screens because I have not actually added any emails to this yet. I will. I'll add some emails to it eventually. The only one I've actually done this with is I've added my work emails into my work domain. That's really the only domain I've spent a lot of time doing work in. But that's just, just a real brief how Qubes works. It's, like I said, it's a little complicated. I kind of like it. I don't mind dealing in complicated things with multiple layers You can see here now that I have a couple different domains started. I guess something else that would potentially fall under a more basic feature is, suppose I want to add new programs. Now, like I said, I'm using Debian more than I'm using Fedora. It's not because Fedora is bad. Fedora is a great system. It's just that I have done almost all my Linux inside of Debian family of computers, and so that's just kind of the platform I want to work with. So suppose I want to install a new program to make it available within my other machines. What I have to do is I have to spin up my Debian machine. So I'm going to right-click that and open it. You could also hit the play button up here at the top. That would start it up, or we can just go and open something in it. Now in my menu, I kind of keep my Debian pretty light. And what I have here is I just have look for files, look for packages, and a terminal. So here's your package manager. It's just the basic package manager that you would expect to see. Get it centered right. And then you can just search around for whatever you'd like to find. Maybe I use Chromium quite a bit. So here's the Chromium web browser. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on this. Hit my apply changes up here. This is going to add the Chromium web browser to the Debian template. So then what you're going to see in here once you are making adjustments is, if you see this little guy here next to my personal, you'll see it's here and it's here, because any of the template or any of the domains that are based on any of the templates that you have made adjustments to, like Debian, these changes, this means that there's pending changes. The only way to make these changes roll is you have to shut down this VM. So now once I shut down my Debian, what you're going to notice is that these guys will go, well, the one on the work went away. The personal one did not go away, and the reason that did not go away is because the domain is still running. So I need to come over here. I found that the restart generally gives me a bug. It does not seem to work well. Of course, it's probably going to work perfectly fine now. Nope, there it is. So hitting the restart button does not seem to work. That'll shut it down. So I usually just shut down and then go ahead and restart. So now we added Chromium, but if I need it to appear on my list, what I need to do to make it appear in my menu, what you'll notice is down here, if I spin this guy up, you'll notice that Chromium is still not on my menu. To add Chromium back to my menu, then what I need to do is come up, and you can do this with the machine running, hit your settings button, go to applications, find Chromium in my list. It should appear in there somewhere. Am I missing it? Either I'm totally missing it or I stopped the thing too premature, because I should see Chromium in there somewhere. Well, you'd highlight the program and hit the over button. Let me explore. Why did that not take? Or did I install the wrong Chromium? I thought I got the right one. But who knows? What is it? It's coming up on 4 a.m., so I should probably put this guy to rest a little bit here. Let me come on over to Debian, boot up packages. Well, I have no idea what I installed. I installed something dealing with Chromium. Okay, now before I actually close that, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to see if this appears in my applications list now. Actually, I have to restart it before it will appear in the applications list, I'm pretty sure. Okay. Close that. Shut that down. We're going to shut down personal as well. Figures I pick like the only 5 things that go wrong on my live stream, you know? Worked perfectly fine for everything else I wanted to install, but for some reason Chromium's just not going to work. Anybody know why? Let me know. All right. But anyway, it should appear. So what you're going to want to do is just click it. I'll just grab a package. It's already here. And then push OK. And then it's going to go ahead and save it like this. And then once this is done, you can come over here. And now you'll see that your new package is available. Okay. So I actually do not want KeyPass on my personal. So we're going to go ahead and take that off. So of course, just reverse that process to remove something. Go to Applications, find what you don't want, hit the button the other way, hit OK. That'll make the change. Okay. Well, Chromium actually works. I just came over and did it on the terminal. Apparently, it just doesn't want to work on. It just doesn't want to appear on my list there. So yeah, there's Chromium. That's working through the terminal. So close that. Now that's done. That's in Debian. So it exists, just not right in my applications list for some reason. All right. Okay, so I think that we've been streaming here for about an hour. I think it's late for me. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap up the stream here. But I will be working on some more Qubes tutorials as we go on. So leave questions or comments down below, and I will get to those as I get to them. So with that, I hope that you enjoyed this very brief overview of Qubes. There's so much in here, you can't possibly do it in one video. But I'll come back and do some more advanced stuff in another time. So with that being said, thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.